guys in starting problem solving and horsemanship coaching. Today I'm going to talk about one of the safety cues that I use while training. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. I'm using my GoPro, so I am trying to see if I can also answer questions along the way as we are recording. So I'm trying it new this time. Anyway, so this safety cue that I use, first I want to discuss when I use it and when I don't use it. First of all, the cue is teaching the horse to lower their head on command. I do not use this cue when the horse is actively rearing, bucking, bolting, those kinds of things. This cue is used before the horse gets that far. This cue is used when your horse is completely distracted, nervous, if they're tight-backed and antsy. This cue helps regain their focus back to you before the spook, the buck, the bolt, the rear happens. If you use this cue when your horse is rearing, you will likely pull the horse over on top of you. If you use this cue while your horse is actively bucking, it gives them extra leverage. We will discuss on another day a different cue that I use in the active emergency situation. But today, this cue is teaching you what to do before your horse gets to that situation. Ritz is a Tennessee walker, and he came here not quite 2 months ago. And he is a problem-solving case. Super nervous and had absolutely no self-confidence or self-control when he came, and we are still working on it, but we're getting better. So anyway, this cue, when I first start teaching it, the very first thing that I do is just in a halter. I start teaching them how to lower their head on command. I use very light pressure, just 2 fingers right under the chin, and put steady downward pressure. The second that he offers to lower his head just a tiny bit, I give a release right there. Come here, Ritz. So this is not a forced cue. You don't shove the horse's face into the ground. You don't make them do it. You wait on them and wait till they relax into the pressure. And then you give the release. It's a cue to help them refocus again on what you're asking. It is not a punishment. It's to help them relax and gain attention. If you're forcing this cue, your horse might do it, but it's not going to help his brain relax. So right here, he's distracted by a little flock of chickens walking across the paddock. And for whatever reason, he doesn't like them today, even though they've been here every single day. And so right here, I'm just using this cue to say, hey, I'm still here, and you don't need to worry so much. So you can see he's still focused on the chickens, but he's still responding to me. And that's my big goal, is to get some sort of response from him in order to help regain his attention without having to move his feet. A very flighty horse, the more you've moved their feet, the more you engage their flight response. So this just helps get him refocused back to me and relaxed without ever having to move their feet. If your horse is moving their feet when you're first teaching it, I will just move with them and still ask for that head down. He's being quite still today, so I'm not going to show that very well. But you don't have to have your horse standing still in order to teach this cue. They can be moving around you like he was when he first came here. He would absolutely not just stand still here and wait with me like this. The first day I brought him into the arena, I was hanging on to the end of the rope and just keeping keeping him from stomping all over me because he was so distracted he could never stop moving his feet. So once your horse understands this and understands that you want to have them lower their head and pay attention and just relax, then I will move on to using the bridle. And I use a simple snaffle. I don't use any leverage bits. It won't work the same in a leverage bit. It's just a single joint, a double joint, whatever. It just needs to be a snaffle type bit that doesn't have any leverage. I have a pinchless O-ring bit. It's one of my favorite bits that I use. And a lot of people ask about this. This is the curb strap underneath the chin. On a snaffle bit, it does not add any curb leverage like on a leverage bit. All it does is when you have an O-ring or a D-ring or something like that, it helps stabilize the bit in the horse's mouth so that when you pick up on one rein, when the horse is learning, if they gape their mouth open, sometimes the bit will try to slide into their mouth. From the ring will try to slide through their mouth, and the curb strap just helps stabilize the bit so it can't go through their mouth. Other than that, that's all that curb strap does on a snaffle. I do not use a noseband on a lot of horses. One, because oftentimes I ride with a halter on, just to help keep a hand on horses when I'm teaching them to bridle, or if I'm out trail riding. But the other thing is I like to teach a horse to soften to the bit and soften their jaw without pinching their nose closed. A lot of people do use a noseband, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you don't cause pain by cranking the noseband down too tight. Anyway, I will go ahead and bridle Ritz here. Split reins, but a lot of people like joined reins, and there's, again, nothing wrong with either one. I find them easier to work with training horses. So after teaching the head down under the halter with 2 fingers, the next thing I go to, there's nothing in the ground for me, sorry, but the next thing I go to is teaching it in hand with the bit. I do this before I ride them. I just take the rein and lift it straight up towards his ear. And again, it's not a ton of pressure, it's just consistent, steady pressure. And again, as soon as he lowers his head, I release. A horse that sucks back behind the bit and avoids the bit, it is very good. This cue is very good for putting them back on the bit. You do have to be careful about how much you do this cue with a horse that you're trying to teach how to collect and soften, because it does make them a little bit heavier on the bit. But on a nervous horse that tends to be high-headed like Ritz and nervous and suck back, it's my number one cue to go to, because it does lower their head. Ritz is far from teaching him how to collect properly, so I'm not worried about that. When he gets nervous, his head goes all the way up like a giraffe, and so this cue helps get him to refocus, relax his back when he lowers his head, and helps him chill out a little bit. Good boy. So I will do this cue on both sides. Good. Good. Good boy. Both sides of their mouth, so it works on either side. Oftentimes when I'm riding in the ring, if I'm going clockwise around the ring and there's something spooky on the outside of the ring, I will use the outside rein to ask him to put his head down. If he is spooking at something towards the inside, I'll use the inside rein to ask them to put their head down as I am riding, and that way their nose is not turning away from whatever they're nervous of, but I don't ever have to change the direction I'm going, slow them, speed them up, turn them in a circle, whatever. When I use this cue, I simply just say, hey, can you put your head down? And I keep on riding the same direction that I want to. If they do not respond to this cue as I'm riding him, that is when I go into something entirely different to regain their focus. But if this simple cue works to get their attention, then we just leave it at that and move on. So from the next step, Max, stop. So Ritz was really, really, really bad about mounting when he came in here. I would literally put my foot in a stirrup and he would take off, and we've been working on that a lot. He's not perfect yet, but we're getting there. See how he does. Make sure this is all good. So for mounting, I will ask him to put his head down. Then I will keep his nose facing towards me a little bit. Up. That wasn't too bad. Good. So once I taught the cue from the ground in the bit, I will move on to the saddle, and here I will just squeeze with one rein, making sure my other rein is very loose, and again, as soon as he lowers his head, I release. And you might notice that he's better with the left rein than the right. Every horse has a side that they're better with. hand. I make sure I remember that, and if we are having a nervous situation, I try to let him see it out of his left eye so that I have better control of him. And then when we're in a more controlled environment, I continue working with that right rein to try and make it better, so that if I'm ever in a situation where I desperately need that right rein, I have it. Good boy. But in a situation where I can turn him around and let him see it out of his left eye, I will. Good boy. So once your horse starts getting it better at the walk, then I start increasing speed. I will start with his good side, always. just to squeeze enough to put their head down. Same amount that you use in hand and then let it go as soon as he stops collapsing to the inside. It's not braced, it's not holding, it's literally a, hey, no, stay out to the outside. You don't want to grip on both reins at the same time. That's totally confusing to a horse, and will mess up any softness that you have with them. Trying to think what else. Cantering, it's a lot more difficult when you get to the canter. I recommend getting the walk and the trot good before moving on to the canter, especially in a more nervous horse like Ritz. When you are teaching this, stay in a controlled environment first, where your horse is comfortable, whether that be the round pen, arena, whatever, and then go where they get slightly nervous and try it. Don't take them where they're completely out of their element and freaking out, to say, hey, this is a good time to try a new cue. That never ends up well. When he lowers his head, you can see he opens his mouth a little bit. Part of that is he's still learning the cue, and he's not as soft with it. As they get softer and more comfortable, they'll stop gaping their mouth open as much. And you won't see that. Thank you. Thank you. Good boy. And then as your horse progresses and you teach them the difference between, hey, put your head down, and I want you to collect and soften your jaw, that will go away as well. But Ritz is far from that point, so I'm not even going to try to start confusing him with that yet. He's bracing a little bit against that jaw, but I'm not even going to think about that right now. He doesn't even need to do that right now. Let me see where we're at. I just saw that the video was pausing. I will be sure to post this later if it doesn't stream correctly. I will make sure